Okay, here it goes. Um, hey everybody, I haven't made a video in a long time. I took some time off for making videos because I just really wanted to focus on embodying what I was trying to say and just embodying authenticity. And I just wanted to really, be confident with my voice and being able to express myself and not being paralyzed emotionally and socially and paralyzed in every way by fear, and for a while, that works, but it's kind of with videos for me has become a thing where it's I think I'm avoiding to a degree, and that's always been something that I've done in life. I've avoided anything social or anything where I had to speak out of fear of being rejected, and really that came from a rejection of myself. So I'm just going to go ahead and post a video and get in the flow, and I just have to push through it, like Mel Robbins talks about a lot, just doing it anyway. So first off, I want to say thank you for all the really super positive comments and feedback from my soft white underbelly video. That was the most one of the biggest steps I've ever taken in my life was contacting Mark and being like, hey, I have a story that I think is worth telling and needs to be told for my benefit and for others as well. And actually, having the mental fortitude and the tenacity and courage to get from West Virginia to California, booking a flight was a huge deal. Everything about it was a really big step for me emotionally. So thank you so much. I held my breath when I thought he wasn't going to upload it, because when I finished the interview, he said, well, you talked really fast, and you did a good job, but you spoke really fast, and the vast majority of all my interviews are just cannot even be used because they're just, the audio is horrible on them. So don't be surprised if your video is not even, if I can't do anything with it. And I kind of was had accepted, okay, that was just going to be a learning experience, even though it's probably not going to be posted. So when it was uploaded and I saw it, my heart sank to my stomach, and I was like, oh my God. And I listened to it, and I was practically holding my breath for 40 minutes. And then I looked in the comments and I held my breath some more. And, it was just so beautiful. It's so beautiful when we connect to each other. And that's what I love about Soft White Underbelly, is I think when you get people to just talk from the heart in a raw way, even about ugly things or painful things, there's a beauty to that vulnerability and to that rawness, and a beauty to the inevitable, potentially millions of connections, that we're all going to find across the globe from this fucking human condition. We're all just people trying to make it, and we all really at our core have the same wants, needs, and desires, even though they manifest in a million different ways. And it's so beautiful to see connection. I think that's how God or source or a higher power, or gods and goddesses, however you want to say it, this highly evolved benevolent energy, and source energy, whatever you want to call it. I think that's how the highest, pure love in its most godlike essence. I think that's how that cognizant energy sees humans as just these vulnerable, flawed, self-destructive morons that you can't help but love. We're kind of probably like dogs from an alien's perspective. We're sweet and we're stupid, and we have super big hearts, and sometimes we get in our own way, and we do gross, weird things, and we're a wounded species. But people are amazing, and I try to keep that in mind and just go from a place of love, without love, with comma out love. That's if we all just operate from a place of fulfilling ourselves and filling ourselves up with love and compassion, um, and integrity and authenticity, we can't help but like overflow and express it, and we're going to be okay, like as a species. And I have to remind myself that people are good, because the media and the government and all of them, they just want to continue to profit from hate and destruction and division. And it's like, man, that ship has sailed, not for a lot of people, not for maybe even like half the people on the planet, or just continuing to like party like it's 2019 and before. But it's like, I had a spiritual awakening in 2020, and I know a lot of people did as well. And once you see like one lie in the system, once you see the crack for what it is, it's like the whole fucking house of cards just crumbles to the ground. And I was like, wow, this has all been like a lie, a big bullshit lie based on profiting from hate and exacerbating hate. I mean, it's a really fucking sick system. But the good news is that I am awake, and it's not like my job. It's some people's job, but it's not my job. And I don't want it to be my job or responsibility to like open anybody else's eyes or anything like that, or try to like get them on the side of righteousness. Like, I just have to work on myself and keep in mind that, people are good, and life is fucking beautiful. It really is. And not worry about the rest. But man, I was going to say something else, but I kind of got off track there. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone's kind words and compassion. And it's just, it's a beautiful thing. And one side note on the thumbnail, it kind of aggravated me that Mark did it this way. In the caption, underneath my video, it said a drug addict from West Virginia. And it's like, I guess I was a drug addict, and there's something to be said for once an addict, always an addict. But for the record, asterisk, exclamation point, I've been sober for like going on 5 years. So he could have said former drug addict. He could have said drug addict in recovery, or, a survivor of themselves, or he could have said a lot of things. But just to say drug addict, I thought was a little short-sighted at best, disingenuous at worst. I don't really know why he said that, because I do have years of sobriety under my belt, and that's no small feat. But that's kind of what I wanted to say. I'm going to try to keep these videos like really short, much shorter this time, and on track. I just wanted to mention a couple schools of thought that have kind of triggered me lately, and why they triggered me, and like what I think is a better way to go about things. And the word trigger is a strange word because it's a triggering word in and of itself. But what I mean by triggering is just things that kind of get me my feelings and get me like in a flustered state of frustration and anger, or maybe jealousy. But I've noticed when I follow my triggers, it really shows me, like when I get in my feelings and I feel kind of like this gut frenzy of a lower level emotion, like frustration or anger or whatever, judgment, it's always like one of the biggest breadcrumbs. And I think triggers really are people that frustrate you, are like, it's like your biggest breadcrumbs to authenticity and being your most authentic self. Like one of the things, I don't want to say who they are because I'm not trying to like bash a celebrity or anyone, but there was a biography, or maybe it was an autobiography, I'm not for sure, of like a famous celebrity. And they said, to paraphrase, they were talking about another dead celebrity that they were, that's beloved the world over. And they said something, to paraphrase, like, oh, if they could have just seen what kind of impact their work, had all over the world, and how loved, they really were with what they did in life, then maybe, they wouldn't be dead. Maybe they wouldn't have like died from the disease of addiction and the disease of self-loathing. And not that that's a disease, but you know what I mean. And I was just like, man, I really got my feelings about it, because it's frustrating. It's like that kind of is the problem, to say like, oh, if this person who died directly or indirectly by their own hand, if they could have just known how much they were loved all over the world by millions of people, then maybe they wouldn't have, hurt so badly and hurt themselves so badly. And it's like, what the hell are we talking about here? No, that's not true. And that type of thinking is why I continued for so many years to feel unworthiness, because validation and worthiness, if I've learned nothing, I would not be sober. I would not even be alive right now if I did not know to my core that is an inside out belief. Validation and worthiness does not come from one person or one person's love or a million people's love, a million people's praise and compliments and validation. That stuff is nice, but that does not fulfill you. If you could love someone to sobriety, then there would be no drug addicts. A parent's love, or a love you have for a spouse or an adult child who's an addict, or just maybe not even like a drug addict, but just dealing with mental health issues. Anybody else's or the entire world's love and validation and praise and compliments, that doesn't make a damn bit of difference. And it never did. Like I said, that stuff's nice, but that is fleeting. The key to happiness and sobriety and peace of mind that I've really found is that you have got to fill yourself up first. You have got to say, hey, I deserve a life too. I deserve to be happy. Maybe I'm going to try it. Because the funny thing is even when I didn't think I deserved happiness, at first, when I was like day one, minute one, month one into my sobriety and turning my life around, I was like, okay, maybe I don't think I deserve it. But first of all, I might be wrong, and second off, why not try it? Why not just try it? And it's like, when I really stop and think, why didn't I live this whole time like I had nothing to lose? And it was because I was so worried about the external world. Like, what are they going to think? Are they going to reject me? Are they going to accept me? All this stuff. And that's part of the reason why it took me about a month longer than I, anticipated with making another video, was just that pause, that I was looking for the validation of everything, but yet I could never seem to quite attain it, because it doesn't matter how much you have from the outside in. It has to come from the inside out. It has to come with love internally, and then you can share it with the world. And that's the only way to live. So that's why I'm just like going for everything in life now, and just really trying to be like, what do I want from life? Let me follow that. Let me follow that answer, and when I was set day one in my recovery from, needle dope, IV drug addiction and codependency and anxious attachment style, and just a lot of mental health, a jumble of fuckery in my head, I was like, why, I asked myself, why is this acceptable? Like, why am I okay with this? Why do I think I deserve nothing than like fleeting synthetic happiness, like chasing these mirages of, chaos that I labeled as love? Like, why did I settle for that? And when I demanded an answer of myself, it always came down to this, pretty much the same answer, which was like, well, that's what I thought I was worth. I didn't think I could do any better, And it's like, why is drug addiction all I want? Why is that enough? And it's like, well, it's all I thought I could get. So, I've really had to like work on self-acceptance and self-love, and it doesn't, and if a celebrity, if a musician or an actor or actress, if and they're fucking miserable people, obviously that should tell us, celebrities and authors and musicians, actors, actresses, they've been miserable for decades. Like that should tell us that, hey, if they can't, they have like the dream job, the dream everything on earth, and they're loved the world over, they're immortal by their work. And if they're unhappy, that should tell us that, hey, this isn't it. And so that's why it really bothered me to see that. It's like, God, we're still doing that same old tired saying of like, oh, well, if they could have just known how much they were loved. And it's like, if they could have just known to love themselves, man, come on. Like, we got to start thinking about, it doesn't matter if strangers, write you, love you in fan letters. It doesn't matter if a parent says amazing things, or a spouse. It has to come from within. And if it doesn't, everything else is going to be for naught. And the second thing that is like a common saying that really just got under my skin was this woman, she said, a famous author, she was like, oh, if you don't grab a seat at the table, and I think I've mentioned this before, and I'm sorry if I repeat, by the way, she said, if you don't grab a seat at the table, then pull up a chair or you're going to be lunch. If you're not eating at the table or pulling up a chair or grabbing a seat, then you're going to be on the menu. And I'm like, no, that bothers me too, because that also kind of perpetuates this obsolete thinking that is really coming from the wrong place. And the thinking is like, to me, it kind of says like, it's a fucking rat race. You got to scrap and, to get a seat at this damn table with this overpriced garbage, chemical filled food, maybe I'm like reading too much into it, but it's just like, I just can't try to force myself to keep up with the Joneses, or to even try to give a fuck about keeping up with the Joneses. I don't care about the Joneses. I do and I don't. Like basically, instead of grabbing a seat at the table or you're going to be lunch, like that's like a veiled threat. Why don't we just like pull up let's have a picnic lunch outside. There's plenty of room for everybody. We're not running out of space. Everyone's welcome. Bring your own sandwich. There's plenty of to go around, and the sunshine feels lovely. Like it just seems like this corporate, it's like life, like an uncanny version, like a corporate version of life or something, that we are still trying to be like force fed in lots of like sneaky little ways. And it's like, let's just not even like have to fight for a seat at this damn table. Let's say, fuck your table, fuck your trashy food. It's like half poison anyway. Let's have like a picnic lunch in the sunshine. And before I get off here, maybe I'll go into it more in another video, but just little things I've been doing to try to appreciate life. And it's so easy to do. It's just awareness of the little things. Everything is here to appreciate. It's just, you have to be aware and cognizant of the thought of, hey, I'm going to have gratitude. And there's so much. In the morning, I've started to go outside barefoot. Like, I know that sounds weird maybe, but I've started to go outside barefoot. And when I got to the women's prison in 2010, I had been locked up in a regional jail for about 10 months. And when you're in the regional jail, it's horrible. You never go outside. The food's horrible. You don't get fresh air ever. You get like 30 minutes, like at 8 a.m. in a concrete slab if it's not raining, you can like look up through the, barbed wire and see the sky. But it's just really unhealthy. And when I finally got to prison, there was like the rec yard and stuff. And the first thing I did, it was like, I swear my soul's instinct, this was in 2010, was I took off my state issued standard kind of like, like the beige like boots that all the women got. I took off my boots and I put my bare feet in the grass, and it was one of the best feelings I'd ever had in my life. And then uh, the women were like, "Oh my God, you got to put your shoes on. You're going to get written up for that." And which I did, but just that 2 seconds, it's like my soul knew, like, you put your bare feet on the ground for a few minutes, just like look up in the sun and go outside. You don't have to like live in the country. Even if you just go outside anywhere and get fresh air, you can feel it nourishing your soul. And I'm just trying to do little things like that, like be aware and have that gratitude and just nourish my soul on like a second by second basis. And yeah, and have some picnics this summer. That's like a summer goal, is to have like some picnic lunches. But anyway, that's just a little update and like a little food for thought there. But y'all have a good night.